The mahogany boardroom smelled of old polish and betrayal. My stepmother, Cynthia, sat across the table, her red lipstick immaculate, her posture perfect. On the table between us lay a stack of papers, legal documents neatly arranged with a gold pen placed dead center. My father's framed portrait hung on the wall behind her. His eyes caught mid-smile. I couldn't look at it. Not today. Daniel, she began, her voice a mix of warmth and urgency. It's just paperwork, honey. You know how messy inheritance can get. Your father wanted his legacy to stay within the family. This just makes things easier. I stared at her, the woman who'd married my father 5 years ago, who, in those years, learned exactly how to manipulate him, charm his friends, and now try to bleed his company dry. Her sons, Eric and Matthew, both in tailored suits, sat behind her like well-dressed vultures. Eric twirled a pen between his fingers, while Matthew scrolled through his phone, pretending this was routine. Within the family, I repeated slowly. You mean, your family? Cynthia smiled, eyes soft, but her jaw twitched. Your family too, Daniel. We're all one unit now. I almost laughed. The last time she called me family was at my father's funeral, when she hugged me with one hand and texted someone with the other. My father's death had been sudden, a heart attack, the doctors said. 56, healthy, strong. But I'd seen the toll she took on him. The quiet arguments behind closed doors. The sleepless nights. The way he started second-guessing his partners, pulling funds. Restructuring. When I went through his files after the funeral, something didn't sit right. The transfers, the withdrawals, the new consultancy contracts, all tied to her and her sons. Now here she was, trying to finish the job. Why don't you go ahead and sign, sweetheart? She said, pushing the papers closer. Her nails, sharp, crimson, expensive, clicked against the table. Your father would have wanted you to trust me. That word trust hit like acid. I picked up the pen, turning it slowly in my hand. You're right, I said quietly. Dad trusted you. Her smile widened, encouraged. Exactly. He knew I'd handle things fairly. I looked up at her. He trusted you enough to make you CFO 6 months before he died. Trusted you with his passwords, his accounts. Trusted you with his heart. Funny, isn't it? Her eyes flickered. I don't know what you're implying. Oh, come on, I said, leaning forward. Do you really think I didn't know about your little trips to corporate retreats? The ones in Dubai, Paris, that beach house in Malibu. Eric shifted uncomfortably. Matthew finally looked up from his phone. Cynthia's voice hardened. Watch what you're suggesting, Daniel. No, I said, my voice low. You watch. The air in the room changed. Heavy, suffocating. I placed a folder on the table, flipping it open. Inside were printed screenshots, bank records, and photos. Photos of her, arm in arm with one of Dad's senior partners, laughing in a hotel lobby. Receipts for wire transfers from the company account to shell corporations in her name. A voice memo of her discussing phasing Daniel out with Eric. I'd found them all 2 weeks ago, hidden under layers of encrypted drives. She went pale. Eric cursed under his breath. I thought Dad was losing it, I said quietly. He was paranoid, forgetful, angry all the time. Turns out, he was just drowning in lies and love for the wrong woman. Cynthia's lips parted, but no words came out. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're going to leave this company. You're going to take your sons and your stories and disappear quietly. In return, I won't take this to the board, or the press. Matthew slammed his phone on the table. You can't blackmail us. I turned to him. You helped her forge Dad's signature on those transfers. I'd call it justice. Cynthia regained her composure fast. You think you're clever, Daniel, she hissed. But you don't understand how business works. Your father and I built this empire together. I earned my share. I leaned forward, my voice calm. You earned nothing but his trust, and you spent that like a credit card. For a long moment no one spoke. Outside, I could hear the faint hum of the city, the sound of engines, the rhythm of life continuing. Inside, the silence crackled with tension. Finally, she stood, gathering what remained of her dignity. You think you've won. But your father's memory will always be tied to me. You can't erase that. I stood too, meeting her gaze. No, I said. But I can reclaim what's left of him. She glared at me, 1,000 unspoken threats in her eyes, then turned and swept out of the room, her sons trailing behind her like shadows. When the door shut, I exhaled for what felt like the first time in weeks. My hand trembled as I put down the pen. I turned toward my father's portrait. The man who taught me integrity, who believed loyalty could fix anyone. Sorry, Dad, I whispered. I had to do it my way. For the first time, I didn't feel like his son living in someone else's legacy. I felt like my own man, one who'd stared betrayal in the face and didn't flinch. But just as I gathered the documents, something caught my eye. A thin envelope tucked beneath the folder, one I hadn't seen before. My heart pounded as I slid it open. Inside was a handwritten note in my father's familiar scrawl. If you're reading this, Daniel, it means you've learned the truth. Cynthia was my mistake. But remember, what she took wasn't the company. It was time. Don't waste any more of yours on revenge. Build something new. My eyes burned. The letter felt heavier than any accusation, any proof. Outside, rain began to fall against the glass windows, soft and rhythmic. I looked once more at the empty chair Cynthia had occupied moments ago. Maybe she thought she'd broken me. But in truth, she'd freed me, from her lies, from the shadow of a father too trusting, and from the illusion that family was built by marriage alone. I folded the letter carefully and slipped it into my jacket pocket. Then I walked out, leaving behind the boardroom, the empire, and the ghost of my father's trust. For the first time in years, I didn't look back.